So, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending? How do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Merrill Chandler, and welcome to the Are You Effable podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Merrill Chandler here, your host of Are You Effable? And in this episode, we are going to actually take business credit funding to another level. We're going to find out why lenders aren't interested in lending to you in certain types of businesses or in the way you actually fill out your application. Your application may be creating a big fat no, and you don't even know it. So I'll be right back. You sit tight, and we're going to knock this one out of the park. Welcome back, everybody. Merrill Chandler here, your host of Are You Effable? And just like it says in the intro, we are always looking for the best money possible, right? It doesn't matter whether interest rates are high or low. We want the very best prime plus half a point. Prime plus one. We don't ultimately care what prime is because it's all relative to what's going on. We need the best interest rates possible. But did you know that the way you fill out an application on your actually in attempting to get a business credit card, credit line, even a loan, is creating the opportunity for lenders to deny you? We're going to discuss why that is so right now. So let's take a look at this. First of all, while you're watching, I don't care if you're in your home, and by the way, I have to tell a quick story. My daughter Sharon, she works at this outfit, and they have it's in a kind of restaurant. Oh, it's a Top Golf. I'll just put it out there. She works at Top Golf. She's one of the managers there, and she sent me a video, and it was amazing. She sent me a video that while the team is coming in and either putting away their clothes, getting dressed, getting ready to go out for their shift, etc., this break room is playing the Are You Effable podcast. Now, I've taught her a lot, but she even wrote me a testimonial that we're going to be posting. I was so proud of her because she's learning. A, I love that she cares, but B, most importantly, she told me in this testimonial about her dad and his mission in life, shared that growing up 30 years in my family, being a member of my family, didn't know most of this stuff. And yet she has a perfect 800 plus credit profile, working on their second investment property. They move in, fix the property, and are getting ready to move out and do it again. So I'm proud of them and everything they've done. We have great conversations, but it's more not been the principles behind it. We've talked about tactical decisions to make, right? So you don't have the luxury of having family dinner with me. That's why I'm starting these podcasts. That's why I want you to keep binging this, because I want you to have access to everything that I can possibly give you in this relationship, right? So first things first, how many of you are business owners? How many would you say that you are a business owner, right? Well, would you say that you are self-employed? Maybe. Well, are you employed by a business? Now, the interesting thing is, guys, those are all the same question, but they're not all fundable. All right? That's what we're talking about in this episode, is that they're all the same question, but it's all about framing. Talk to any attorney any attorney from law school or anybody who's in law school, and they'll tell you one of their teachers said, whoever frames the argument wins the argument. It's been didactic learning for millennia, right? Back in Socrates and Plato days. Whoever frames the argument wins the argument. Well, if the lenders are framing the argument, we got to play by their game. If we reframe the argument, then we can play that game and win. That's absolutely true, right? in the best arguments ever. Now, I came from a boot camp, and I have to tell you, so I was sharing this principle about framing the argument, and I said, how many of you, I just told the women, I told the men to put on their earmuffs. I just told the women, how many of you actually frame the argument? Because if you frame it, you win it. Then I told the women to put on their earmuffs, and then I told the men, by the way, men, if you frame the argument, you'll win it. Now, of course, there are a bunch of couples there, and everybody got the joke, but the point is that framing is everything. And we're going to be talking over the next few episodes, we're going to be talking about how to frame you as a business and your relationship to your business. Framing what is a qualified funding entity. Framing what is fundable when it comes to entities. It's all about framing. And if you don't take this seriously, you're going to step on landmines and blow your shit up. So being a business owner, being self-employed, and employed by a business are all the same thing. It's how you frame it. And so let's take a look at, let's imagine an application, right? You're filling out an application and you go to the drop down and it says, oh, select one: employed, unemployed, self-employed, student, disabled, retired, military, or other, right? Well, which one of the top three, employed, unemployed, and self-employed, which one of those are most fundable? If you answered employed, then you are correct. But what happens if you, so we want to be employed when it comes to filling out an application. Why? Well, if you are self-employed, you are not in bankers' eyes, and therefore in their underwriting software and their approval software. If you're self-employed, you are not safe and reliable, right? Self-employed creates degrees of uncertainty. There are many variables that have to be investigated, and that's what we call full doc. If you're self-employed, that's an automatic trigger to get kicked out into manual underwriting, because somebody has to go through, if it's worth it to them to do a deal with you, they give you a credit line or a business loan, then they have to assign one of their team members to one of their employees to go through all the lender criteria and get all the proof. Old school manual underwriting. We don't want anything to do with that. We want to be an employed professional. So why is that one better than the other? An employed professional is safe and reliable, right? There is, by the very language, it is predictive of continued employment. Employed professionals create higher degrees of certainty and a lower chance of losing loans that that a lender may give you, because there's a lower chance of you as an employed professional losing income. If you are just starting a brand new business and you frame yourself as owning a business or as self-employed, those are deal killers, straight up deal killers. So the story that I have is from one of our boot camps. And the idea was, somebody asked me, but I am self-employed. I'm like, no, you're calling yourself self-employed. All right. So in the boot camp itself, we were going back and forth that saying, it's about framing. He goes, well, I want to tell them the truth. And I'm like, okay, tell them the truth. Are you employed? Do you receive W-2 or 1099 income from your company? And he said, yes. So you are employed by that company. Well, that company is not you. You are the one conjoining both of you under one umbrella. The Supreme Court doesn't. Supreme Court says entities are people too. They are separate and distinct entities, right? So if you insist on saying that you are self-employed, Godspeed, God bless, but you're not going to get a dime from a lender in automatic underwriting. Not a dime. Because self-employed says that I am in charge of everything in this business, and the business doesn't have an identity without me. You might as well be a sole proprietorship. I'm saying that an employed professional, if you're receiving W-2 or 1099 income from your business. You are employed by that business. Another example. So to finish that, I went. So he and I went back and forth several times because he was stuck on the idea that I have to be honest and truthful. And I'm like, dude, yes, I want you to be honest and truthful. None of this is about gaming the system. All of this is about creating a relationship with the lender, a relationship of trust, as we're going to discuss in just a moment. We want to have a trusting relationship. But you have to give them a language that they understand, language that lets them want to build a relationship with you so that they can trust you. You got to be in the relationship before you can trust the relationship. And I'm telling you that if every single time whenever I look at profiles, whenever I do a strategy session with clients or individuals who are just looking for my coaching, they are, if it says self-employed, that's a deal killer. And it's unnecessary because you are if you're taking money out of that entity, you're an employed professional. Now, the next thing you need to know is, I've spoken of it several times, but when I applied for my most recent line of credit, this one was with Wells Fargo. When I applied for my recent line of credit and got 75 grand in credit line and credit card joint, or total, they asked me, are you the owner or an officer of the business? Guess what I said? I'm an officer of the business, because they asked me the question. I am the CEO, and that makes me an officer. I do not have to say anything else, because an officer of the business is actionable, just like an owner is actionable. But when I say owner, believe me, they're going to dock you in underwriting, because an owner means that there is not, and this is me projecting onto the software, but the intent of the software is to separate. Is this entity separate from you, or is it just one amalgamation of identity? And we're going to get into some crazy deep dives about how this works. All right. So, guys, you need to know that employed professionals is a much more powerful way to approach and to frame your relationship to your business, not as owner. All right. Now, what are lenders looking for in a borrower? Where, as I said, they're looking for a professional borrower creates conditions of trust, and more importantly, treats lender money with deference and respect. All right. So when I'm in my boot camps, I tell people, and I'm going to tell you to do it right now, pull out a credit card. I want you to pull out a credit card. Yeah, you don't have to, just take a photo of it, both sides, please, and then just send it to me. Pull out a credit card. I want you to see it for yourself. All right. Now, whose name is on that credit card? Whose name is printed on that credit card? 95% of every audience that answers that question, and maybe even you, answers that question with, my name is. I'm like, you're absolutely right. Your name is on that. But so is the lender's. Now, here's what I want you to hear carefully. Somewhere in all of our programming, all of our financial education, our training, the stuff we got handed down from our parents and the trainings we received, all tell us that because we are credit worthy, we deserve this money, and therefore this money is ours to do with as we please, as long as we pay it on time according to the terms. Think about that. You very well may believe, I'm gonna call you out. You probably, back in the back of your mind, you believe the money on that credit card is yours to do whatever you want with. That's not true. Do you think there's a lender in the universe that believes that money is yours? Any lender? No, they don't. It's their money, and they are sharing it with you in hopes of a profit and engender a longer relationship with you so they can count on that profit over and over and over again. If you treat their money with deference and respect, then all kinds of things, all kinds of doors begin to open, and we'll cover some of those in subsequent podcasts. But guys, a professional borrower creates conditions of trust and treats lender money with deference and respect. Think once again, it's that subconscious background behavior, those beliefs that we have that say, oh yeah, by the way, this is my money, and as long as I pay it back the way I'm supposed to, I get to do anything I want with it. Well, guess what? That unconscious behavior is being measured by FICO and lender software, and they're catching you carrying too high balances, putting all your balances on your personal profile instead of your business. All the things we've talked about for the last freaking 30 plus episodes. They are measuring all of that, and they're not going to give you more money, or they're going to limit the amount of money they give you as a result of that unconscious behavior. All right. So let's take a look at another thing that's really important, is that since 2008, back in the day, 2007, in one day from two different branches, I got $100,000 each from Chase. Signed on the dotted line, one-page application. It was a free-for-all. They were not just giving money away for mortgages. They were giving money away, period. And I got two $100,000 business lines of credit in my name, stated income. I mean, awesome. But the thing is it was not personally guaranteed. Now, since 2008, there is not a single cash credit card, credit line, or business loan, much less personal, that is not personally guaranteed. It's called PG, or full recourse, meaning if you don't pay it, or if the business doesn't pay it, it comes back on you. Now, there's a difference. Be very clear. There's a difference. You can be personally responsible for it and still have it not report on your personal credit report until you go delinquent on it. Then it reports to your personal. So full recourse, personally guaranteeing, doesn't mean that it's reports on your personal profile. It means that if your business doesn't pay it, you end up with bad credit, bad trade line collections, judgments, etc. So guys, to be a professional borrower, to be everything, to acquire the credit lines and the loans that you want to have, you have got to treat their money with deference and respect. You've got to frame who you are in the business so that they can understand. So you're speaking their language, and you step on the landmines and it'll blow up and you don't have any recourse. Well, you won't get approved, or the approvals will be tiny test approvals to see if you're legit. Once you get an approval, it takes the lower approval. You get 5,000. It takes forever. Remember the velocity to credit? It takes forever. It takes 42 months to get to 100 grand at 30 every 6 months at 30% credit limit increases. That's too long. We want to get a $50,000, and so that within 12 months it's 100 grand. See what I'm saying? So we're playing this game as partners with these lenders, and we're speaking the language that they can hear so that we can begin to develop that relationship of trust. This is Merrill Chandler, and thank you for joining me on the Are You Effable podcast. Stay tuned, because the next one is going to be just as potent, just as powerful, and I will see you there. Be well. Hey guys, thank you for listening to Are You Effable? Please leave comments, because I would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit fundinghackers.com to view the blog post, get important links, join our community, and much, much more. And you gotta tell your friends about this podcast. We want them to become effable too.